The exam paper shook in his trembling hands. Red ink screamed across the page, another big fat F. The classroom laughter echoed in his ears, louder than thunder, sharper than knives. It wasn't just a grade. It was proof of what everyone whispered behind his back. The billionaire's son, stupid and spoiled, can't even pass basic schoolwork. Daniel Miller, 17 years old, son of one of the wealthiest businessmen in the country, wanted nothing more than to disappear. Money could buy him everything: sports cars, vacations, the latest gadgets, but it couldn't buy respect. Not from his teachers, not from his classmates, and not even from his father. When he returned home that evening, he braced himself. His father's mansion, with marble floors and glass chandeliers, never felt like home. It felt like a courtroom. Mr. Miller's voice thundered before Daniel even reached the study. Another failure. Daniel, do you have any idea how much you embarrass me? A Miller should lead, not crawl. Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to fight back, but the weight of disappointment crushed him. His mother had passed years ago, and his father had buried himself in business, too busy to notice his son was falling apart inside. That night, Daniel shut himself in his room. He stared at the same math problems that refused to make sense, the same history dates that slipped through his memory, the same essays that felt like brick walls. He wasn't dumb, but he was drowning. And no one cared enough to throw him a rope. No one, except for the new maid. Her name was Grace. She was in her late 30s, recently hired after moving from the south with her young daughter. Grace was different from the other staff. She didn't bow her head or rush away whenever Daniel walked in. She looked him straight in the eye, with warmth that felt almost motherly. One evening, she knocked gently on his door, a tray of food in her hands. "You haven't eaten," she said softly. "I'm not hungry," Daniel muttered. Grace didn't leave. Instead, she noticed the crumpled test paper on the desk. She picked it up, scanned it, and then glanced at him. "You don't believe you can do better, do you?" Daniel scoffed. "What do you know about it? You clean floors for a living." The words were sharp, born from pain, but Grace didn't flinch. She placed the tray down and sat across from him. "I know what it's like to be counted out before you even begin. I know what it feels like when everyone says you can't, and you start to believe them. But I also know this: nobody is too broken to learn, if they're willing to try again." For the first time in years, someone wasn't yelling at him, mocking him, or pitying him. Someone believed he could try again. That night, Grace offered to help him study. Not as a tutor, not as a teacher, but as a guide who understood struggle. At first, Daniel resisted. He rolled his eyes, cracked jokes, and gave up quickly. But Grace was patient. She taught him tricks no textbook ever explained, turning math into puzzles, history into stories, and essays into conversations. She didn't care how long it took. She didn't mock mistakes. For weeks, they worked in secret. Daniel's father didn't know, the school didn't know. Only Grace and Daniel shared that hidden world of late-night lessons and laughter that slowly replaced frustration. But challenges grew heavier. Daniel's classmates caught wind of his tutoring. They sneered, spreading rumors. "The billionaire's son is so stupid, the maid has to teach him." The humiliation burned, but Grace reminded him, "They laugh now, but one day they'll clap." The bigger challenge came from his father. Mr. Miller found out and exploded. A maid is teaching my son. Do you realize how ridiculous that sounds?" Daniel stood his ground, voice shaking but firm. "She believes in me more than you ever have." For the first time, silence filled the room. Mr. Miller didn't know how to respond. Months passed. Slowly, Daniel's grades began to climb. AD became a C. AC became a B. And finally, one day, a trembling hand lifted an exam paper with a shining A written in bold ink. It wasn't just an A. It was redemption. Daniel rushed home, bursting into the kitchen where Grace was cooking. He dropped the paper in front of her. She looked at it, then at him, her eyes welling with tears. She hugged him tightly. "I told you," she whispered. Nobody is too broken to learn. But the real test wasn't academic. It came the night Daniel's father faced a business collapse. A deal worth billions was falling apart, and Mr. Miller was on the verge of breaking. For the first time, Daniel saw his father not as a giant, but as a man, tired, desperate, and alone. Grace reminded Daniel of something powerful. Knowledge isn't just for tests. It's for life. With newfound confidence, Daniel stepped into the office, sat beside his father, and helped him review the contracts. Piece by piece, he applied the same problem-solving skills Grace had taught him: patience, focus, and belief. Together, they saved the deal. For the first time, Mr. Miller looked at his son with pride, not because of money, but because Daniel had grown into someone strong. Years later, Daniel gave a speech at his graduation. His father sat in the front row, Grace and her daughter beside him. He didn't thank his wealth. He didn't thank privilege. He said, "I stand here today because someone believed in me when no one else did. She taught me more than tests. She taught me courage, resilience, and faith in myself." The audience clapped. His father's eyes glistened. Grace smiled through tears. And Daniel knew his life had truly begun. Final message for viewers. Sometimes, life places the right people in our paths, not to carry us, but to remind us we can walk on our own. This story is proof that faith, patience, and kindness can change a life forever. What did you think of Grace's role in Daniel's journey? Comment your thoughts below. I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget, if you found this story inspiring, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with others. This is Be Kind Always, where every story reminds us that kindness has the power to transform lives.